magical sparks, welcome back to my channel. It's Sparkle here, and today I'm going to be giving you guys 25 tips to improve your art. By the way, I'm also going to be creating a Wednesday inspired sketchbook spread, which if you don't know what Wednesday is, it's like this super amazing series that launched on Netflix recently, and it is so good. It's insanely amazing and it's definitely a must watch. But more on that later. For now, let's just get straight into the tips. By the way, these are tips that have helped me out in the past personally, and they really helped me to improve my art and just grow as a person and as an artist. And I hope these tips help you guys out as well. So yeah, without any more rambling, let's just get straight into the tips. And with that, my very first tip for you guys is to break it down into shapes. Now, it doesn't matter if you're drawing from reference or if you're just drawing from your imagination. Either way, it's really good to break down whatever you're drawing into a bunch of bigger shapes. Also, take note of how I said bigger shapes. What I mean by this is when you're thinking about a drawing, don't break it down into too many smaller shapes, because then you're going to get held up with adding the details, and in the end, you're going to get a little bit stressed, and it's not going to end up most of the time looking like how you had hoped for it to look. But instead of that, when you look at an illustration, train your brain to find the bigger and loose shapes within that drawing or within that visualization of yours or reference. For example, here I'm drawing a girl. I'm drawing Wednesday in specific, but okay, let's not get into that because I'm going to start talking about the series a lot if I do start. But anyways, I am drawing a girl, and while I was sketching out this drawing, I used a circular shape to mark out where the head would be. I then used like a triangular shape to mark out where the shoulders would be, and then I used a rectangular shape to mark out the body. This is pretty much what I mean when I say break it down into shapes. And also, if you check out my anatomy drawing kind of video that I made a couple of months back, I also kind of talked about breaking things down into shapes there, so I hope that might help you out as well. So tip number 2 is to use guidelines when you are drawing. This, I'd say, would specifically apply for when you're drawing faces, because guidelines will help you to get those eyes leveled, which is a question I've been getting a lot recently. It's like, how do I make sure that the eyes in my drawings are leveled and one's not too high or lower? The thing is, they don't have to be perfect, because obviously no human face is perfect, but if you do want it to be quite leveled, then I would recommend using guidelines. And also, I think it would help for architectural drawings as well. So that's that. Tip number 3 is to try drawing with a pen. Now, for me personally, I never thought drawing with a pen would be something that I would end up doing outside from school, where I love to draw with a pen because that's what I would always have on hand. But a lot of artists, such as Drawing with Waffles and Piper's Art, and just so many other artists, have really inspired me in the past to try drawing with a pen. And that's really helped my art improve, because when you are drawing with a pen, and I mean a really cheap ballpoint pen, it helps so much because you can kind of get that texture that you would get from pencil, in a way, but at the same time you can't erase. And while that may be frustrating at first, in the end it'll ultimately help you to reduce making mistakes when you go back to using pencil as well, and it'll just help you learn so many things. I can make an entire video about this, so you know what? I might just do that. With that, let's go on to tip number 4, and that is to draw from real life. Now, as a young kid and as a beginner artist, drawing from real life was something that sounded really scary to me, because I was so used to drawing in my comfort zone. And to put it into context, what I mean by this is that I do know that with myself and with a lot of other artists out there, or just people in general, a lot of us were used to drawing stick figures growing up and drawing these simple sceneries with these small geometric houses and these little blades of grass that look like scribbles and this little sun in the corner. But sometimes it's so important to step outside your comfort zone, especially when you're looking to improve your art. So ever since I started to draw from real life, I really train my brain again to find different shapes and to figure out how things would look, and it's just ultimately helped my art improve. It's one of those things that you can't really explain, but if you try it out yourself, you will understand just how amazing this is. And tip number 5 is to use references. Now, a lot of people, and I know where they're coming from, but they seem to think that using references is kind of cheating. But in all honesty, if you look at an image of a pose on your iPad or computer and draw that, if you call that cheating, then what about artists in the old days who looked at different people in real life and tried to sketch out their poses? If you are I don't want you guys to copy anything, but using references to improve your art and to find inspiration, there's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of artists do agree with that. So don't hesitate to use references to help you improve and to help you study new things and just learn more things about art. Tip number 6 is do not compare yourself to other artists, because the second you start to compare yourself to other artists, and I mean like on a really deep level, that's not a good thing, because firstly, it'll just like demotivate you to stop drawing, and in a way, it will cause you to hate your current style of drawing and like the stage that you are in your art journey. And it's really important to understand that everyone is at a different stage in their journey of creating art, and you can't expect yourself to be at the level of Pablo Picasso already, because you are on a different journey and your art is beautiful and amazing. No one's art is better than anyone else's art, and comparing myself with other artists is something that I have personally struggled with as well. And I'll admit, it was not nice, but I did struggle with it. But now I'm out of the struggle, because now I've stopped comparing myself and I've started to love my art for what it is. So trust me, that will definitely help you to improve, because the second you stop comparing yourself, you will start to love your art more, and then you'll kind of find yourself putting in more time and effort to focus on your own art journey instead of just worrying about others. Tip number 7 is to learn from art tutorials. Now, art tutorials are made for a reason. They're made to help you out, and you don't have to copy it exactly to learn from it, but rather just look at the key points of focus. Like if you're looking at a body drawing tutorial, then focus on how maybe the person does their anatomy sketches and everything. The thing is, a lot of people think that learning from tutorials is wrong and that any real artist is like self-taught or something, but like, no, that's not true. Everyone learns from everyone else. Like, you can't tell a student to be ashamed for learning from a teacher. Like, that's pretty much the same as art tutorials. So, you know what? Just be ready to learn. And tip number 8 is to dedicate time for studies, because although it might be tempting just to jump into drawing those full-on illustrations, sometimes it is good to take a break and dedicate at least one page or even just a spread just to study something, like for example, different hairstyles, different ways to draw eyes, or just simple things like that too. And with that, tip number 9 is to annotate and reflect. You don't have to physically annotate in your book if you don't want to, because I know some people just don't like doing that. They like to keep writing stuff out of their art journals or out of their sketchbooks. But if you want to, you can also do it physically. And what I pretty much mean by annotate and reflect is that as you make a drawing, if there is something you don't like about it, or if there's something you love about it, like for example the colors, or just like how you drew the face, or just how you drew anything in general, then take note of it so you can come back and look specifically at the parts of your art that you want to focus on developing. Tip number 10 is to go back and look at your old art so you can see how far you've come, and in a way find motivation to keep on going and keep on pushing through it, because you're going to get even better in the future. Tip number 11 is to learn how lighting works, because learning how lighting works will help you to improve your art in general, so you can try shading in a different way. And I think just learning how lighting works is good regardless of whether you like to draw people or architecture or fruits. It'll just add that really cool quality to your art. And tip number 12 is to learn how color theory works, because sometimes it can become frustrating when you're trying to color your art and you just end up picking the wrong colors and you just hate how it looks. Well, if you want to avoid that, I would recommend learning how color theory works and learning more about complementary colors and analogous colors, because that way it's just going to help your art in general regardless of like what kind of art you do again, because you can add color to pretty much all types of art. And with that, tip number 13 is to experiment with different art styles. And I might actually make a video with tips on this, but my point here is experimenting with different art styles will help you not only to try different things, but also just to explore your own limits and just like see what you can create. And it's just lots of fun as well. Tip number 14 is to try warm-up exercises. Sometimes when you haven't drawn for a long time, it can be quite difficult to get back into the groove of it because you just might not feel confident with yourself. At these times, I would recommend trying warm-up exercises like just squiggling random designs or doing a mini Zentangle or something. And this will also just help your art improve, because doing exercises will help you build that confidence with your hands and just like also get a more steady grip. Tip number 15 is to use different art supplies so you can yet again test your limits and see what works best for you. And tip number 16 is to time yourself, while tip number 17 is to take breaks. Now these two are kind of intertwined. I think it's good to time yourself, because timing yourself, like just like pushing yourself to create a drawing in 5 minutes, will help you to work faster, while taking breaks at the same time will help you to rest your creativity so you can come back with brand new ideas. Tip number 18 is to seek inspiration. Don't just wait for inspiration to find you. You need to get out there and you need to find it. It doesn't matter if you go outdoors to find your inspiration or if you use Pinterest. Either way, you have to search for it, and you can't just use that as an excuse. You can't just say, I don't have inspiration, because it's your job to find it. And once you start looking for inspiration, trust me, you will find it as long as you have an open mindset and you're ready to learn. Tip number 19 is to try and stylize things. So instead of just drawing something as you see it, try to take it on with a different perspective and try to stylize it and draw in a different way. And this is yet again to push your creative limit. Number 20 is to try try mindless doodling, because sometimes all you need to do is take a break and do some mindless doodling. And this will help you improve your art because it'll help you understand why you love art in the first place and keep you from getting burnt out as you try to learn new things. Tip number 21 is to put in consistent sketchbook time. This doesn't have to be on a daily basis because sometimes daily drawing isn't really practical, but consistent sketchbook time pretty much means dedicate at least a couple of minutes, or even if you can, hours per week, just to spend some time drawing in your sketchbook. Doesn't matter what you draw, and just consistently drawing is something that will help you to ultimately improve your art, because you will subconsciously be learning new things each time and be reflecting on your mistakes. Tip number 22 is to try mixed media. Firstly, mixed media is fun. Secondly, mixing different mediums will help you to improve your art skills and knowledge. And thirdly, it's just going to make you a better artist, because now you will have the power to combine a bunch of mediums to make an amazing illustration. So definitely, once you try different art supplies, I definitely recommend giving mixed media illustrations a go. Tip number 23 is to try art challenges. This could be the 3 marker challenge, this could be the 10-minute, 1 minute, 10 seconds challenge. This could literally be any art challenge, but art challenges are great because they push your creativity to the limits again, and they ultimately just help you figure out which aspects of your art that you need to focus on developing and improving. Tip number 24 is to keep pushing through that art block, because all of us have this constant art block just within us waiting to rise, and you guys have to keep pushing through it. If you want to improve your art, you have to push through that art block. And the final and 25th tip is to practice, practice, and practice. I know it's annoying, I know it's frustrating, but practicing is really one of the best ways for you to just keep on improving. If you don't feel confident with something, practice it. Just don't give up, okay? You guys got this. I believe in each and every one of you, and I hope these tips might have helped you out. By the way, here's the final page I made. I absolutely love it. I drew Wednesday, Tyler, Bianca, and Enid in my style. Then I drew Thing, and I tried to draw Wednesday in a semi-realistic style from the Netflix poster, and I just love it. This is definitely one of my favorite sketchbook spreads ever, and I love that Wednesday drawing as well. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a fabulous day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!